right, we have video. Now we have audio. And welcome back to another episode of Whiskey and Real Estate. I am a co-host, but it looks like today I'm like a bartender with all these wonderful options here.
Got to make sure the labels are all facing out.
There we go. Labels up, guys. And you guys know the host of the show. I'll let him introduce himself.
Lucas Burrington with Burrington Real Estate and AMMT, and we have a special guest today.
Oh yeah!
Never a rivalry, but always collaborating amongst us here in the community. Another realtor. I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm Tim Nash here with Skogman Realty. I'm a local realtor. Been doing it for 6 years now. So yep, excited to be here and. I've been listening to. I've been boning up on the podcast, so I hope to match your guys' vibe today.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you'll be just fine.
Absolutely. And Tim, we've done a couple now. I did your Lunch with Friends.
We did Lunch with Friends.
So he's got an interview series on YouTube. And then I also had him in here for Talking Top Tier.
Yes, sir.
Found out you had a passion for film, so we're going to talk a little bit of real estate. We don't get to talk about film much, so I think
we can hit it
we
all.
can definitely do all that. First things first that we like to do is introduce the whiskey. What are these multiple options we have today?
So we got the Wild Turkey, American Honey Wild Turkey. So this one's got a little more sweet flavor than bite.
Mm-hmm.
So have you hit it yet on this?
That's this right here, right?
Yep.
All right.
I'm trying not to hit it too fast. That's the problem.
Always my goal. Don't hit it too fast.
Yeah, that's right. 2 minutes is 2 minutes.
We've come a long way. So Tim's listened to like our first episode back when you were like just a guest on Talking Top Tier. So he's seen us from the let's be professional. It's business. Yep. And now we're just family on here.
So I've done two. I did the first two episodes, and I did the last three.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
drastic.
Yeah. But it's still the education part is still there, which we're never going to lose because I mean, once again, we've talked about it for episodes upon episodes. We're dealing with the biggest purchase of someone's life.
Yeah.
So the education tool, and I think Tim, he's been in this business long enough to understand. One of the biggest frustrations we deal with in our job is the lack of education on the other side. When you got, I mean, you got a lot of these people that really think being a realtor is an easy job, and anyone can get their license. You know?
Well, that's one of my that's kind of one of the things that I say when people when people talk about when people are cursing out realtors and people are talking about I said, look, anyone can get their license. And that's not necessarily a good thing, but I mean it's true. Like anyone can get their license. It's like it's what they do with it after they get their license. That's really what matters. And a lot of it has to do with that managing broker. Mm-hmm. You've got your background with Caldwell Banker. I got my background with Skogman. I've heard you talk a lot about coaching and making sure that the agents that are working for you are well coached and they're getting the training.
Right.
And that's the most important thing right there.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So it's funny we get into that because, we've had episodes about loyalty and this and that and another. And so we had a gal that we were getting licensed, got her through the whole process, got her license coming. We're, waiting for the state to come to the brokerage and say, okay, quick approve for the license. So I gave her a call. I'm like, where's this license at? Oh, I went with XYZ Real Estate. I go, are you kidding? And I'm talking like a relationship that this gal's had has been long going for years with us, and I mean still wants to do work for us, like on the management side, and I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. She's like, well, my broker's not busy, and he has a lot of time, and
that's not a good thing.
That's what I said. I said a busy broker is who you want. I go because I was just dumbfounded. I was just like,
I'm dumbfounded right now.
I go, yeah, okay. He's going to teach you how to do dot loop and how to do paperwork, but there's no paperwork to do if he doesn't have any deals going. And I'm like,
you know who does the paperwork? An assistant. The assistant does the paperwork.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like I said, I said I know for a fact that the dues aren't paid, so she ain't going live into the market, so therefore she's going to be working as an hourly person, I'm assuming, because she can't sell. So if a guy doesn't make money to pay hourly, your job security is not very good either.
Do you think it was? Did you find out why? Like specifically why, or did she just say because he wasn't busy?
So they had he sold her brother a house.
Oh gosh,
You know how that story goes. And so when I talked to her, because we still talk to him to the day, and I will always support the property management side on it.
Sure.
But it was the fact that he was going to be in the office all day, every day type situation. And you know what? Hey, if you want that, you got that. But I'm telling you, like the guys that we bring on and the guys that over the years Jeremy and I have trained and whatnot, and you see where they are on their own now, being very successful. Sometimes you just got to trust the process.
Yeah.
But the education piece is just, it is a huge worry of mine when you see a great market and you see all these realtors flooding the market. What I think from our advantage is Tim's done a really nice job within the market of establishing who he is in the market. His market, he's marketed himself well, but he's always been professional on the other side, even when it's frustrating. Like I am a frustrating guy to work with sometimes, especially like this last month and a half where it's
you've been busy,
chaos.
Yeah.
And he's kept it professional on the other end, and that transpires to his clients, that transpires to his agency, but also it also makes us realtors look pretty damn good out there too. So kudos to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Because you're one of the few that where the phone calls coming in, I'm like, okay, I got to figure a way to get back to him one way or the other today. Where a lot of the others out there are just like, man, this
I don't want to deal with this person.
This is gonna be crazy. I'm gonna get into this deal and I'm gonna have to do the whole transaction, and it's gonna be that. But it's nice, and so when he said he wanted to come on the podcast, I'm like, I can't wait. This will be great.
And you've listened to a few episodes now, so one of the things I have Lucas do every episode is talk about today's market.
Oh, sure.
I would love to hear your perspective of today's market.
Thank you, CRARMLS. Well, we'll just give you guys some numbers real quick. So I know that one thing Lucas has talked a lot about is inventory is down, and it is still. So right now, this is as of this afternoon, the Cedar Rapids area, and that doesn't include the corridor and all that, but just Cedar Rapids single family homes. Right now, we've got 151 active listings on the market, which maybe for some people that sounds like a lot. That doesn't sound like a lot.
No,
that sounds
when you got
sounds
400
like
realtors out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And right now, our average median price is $279,000, 422. So that's what you can get. That's the average price right now in the Cedar Rapids market. And then average days on the market though, not bad. It's 10 days on the market is the average in the market. So, which
I haven't experienced that yet.
I got a good one. I closed on a property this week, so now I feel like I can talk about. I still don't talk addresses or client names, of course, but I got
fiduciary duty.
Yes, of course. I've got a good story for something that sat on the market for too long.
Oh my God! I've screwed up those numbers big time, because I'm telling you, my average sales is probably like 105 right now, because it seems like the only people that are really buying are investors right now. There's not a whole.
No, there's not a lot of buyers. I will say, of my 6+ years in real estate, it's been more buyers than sellers this year, and I'm having a good year. But this year, I've had more listings than buyers this year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that, because anything over like 185 to 250, that mark you stated as the median, I can't even get traffic in right now.
I couldn't get anyone in over
in 250 to 300 are dead.
No, that was it.
Yep,
that was it. The 250 to 300, I couldn't, and that was. So I'll just tell my little story here. Let's go into it. So it reflects this year's market too. So I had some folks, I helped them purchase a house 2.5 years ago. Had to move. It wasn't a decision. It was a have to. And so they reached out to me, and fantastic house. Older home, Cape Cod, biggest house on the block. It was the most expensive house on the block. So you know how that goes.
Yep.
Right? Well, seller came to me, and it's his estimate story. He said, this estimate says it's this much. This is how much this estimate says. And I said, yes, I know, but I did a market analysis for you. Here are the properties I pulled. It's worth this much, and it was about 50 grand below the Zestimate.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, real
Which
quick.
is not what the seller wants to hear, right?
We haven't
Wait,
talked
yeah.
about Zestimates yet.
So let's
Is
yeah,
Okay, let's
Zestimate?
talk about Zestimates.
Is it
yeah.
the-
Pause. We'll take
uh,
a pause on Tim's story. We're coming right back
Yes.
to you on this because they got in a lawsuit over this.
Okay.
Oh, good.
And it was a huge, and it's still an
Makes my
ongoing
heart
lawsuit.
happy.
Yeah, it's been like a 2-year lawsuit that Zillow, you try to get in this real estate game here. And they did, literally, they were buying houses and selling houses. Zillow as a company was.
What?
Yeah, they tried to get a whole market share on it, and we had lobbyists and we had people fighting it within the board to not
Yeah.
allow it to happen within
Yeah.
the Cedar Rapids market
Yeah.
because you're monopolizing stuff now.
This is AI in real estate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
Mhm.
So Zillow comes out with this thing called a Zestimate, which we, in
Yeah.
American's term we call it a guesstimate.
And it's not new. It's
Yeah,
been around
yeah,
for
it's been a
Mhm.
while. So what the
It's like Kelly Blue Book for cars, but for houses.
yeah, but people out of Vegas and Phoenix and Florida trying to set what his estimate is in Iowa.
Mhm.
So they're going off this whole data entry that's coming
Yeah.
into them, and this is where they pop out.
this
this
many
estimate.
square feet. And it's more analytical than, but it's in this neighborhood where
Mhm.
this happens. So they're
So-
not looking at it.
I actually had a good metaphor for it, and the way that I looked at it was a Zestimate is like when you put up your dating profile and you outline all of your best characteristics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And somebody's interested in you because of all your best characteristics, and then that somebody, their best friend is like, I went to high school with that guy.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And then the best friend, that's your realtor. The best
Yeah.
friend is the one that's like, it's in this neighborhood, and the
Yeah.
one, a block over here and a block over here sold for this much.
Mhm.
It's
And
not
it
it's not
doesn't match.
computing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't
not
match.
computing.
The math
yeah.
doesn't math.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is so true because I mean it's one of the first things I hear on a listing appointment, and so
Well, this estimate.
the
Mhm.
estimate says. I mean, heck, we just did a walkthrough. Me and Monika, we did a walkthrough on one yesterday, and the first thing the son says when we're down in the basement, because we go through the whole walkthrough. It's a 5-bed, 3-bath. It's got 32 by 32 shop on the back side, which is heated and cooled. I mean, it is, but it's still on 9th Street Northwest.
Yeah.
And I mean, probably in the 500-year floodplain. I haven't
Mhm.
looked it up yet today, and I'm going to look it up and to see if
Yeah.
he's in the floodplain down there. I'm pretty sure it is. And so his estimate says it's worth $265 because every 5-bed, 3-bath in a mile radius is sold for this.
No,
Okay, the
you're
one
in
thing
the
about
flood
Cedar
zone,
Rapids,
bro.
yeah, one thing about Cedar Rapids is you run from a floodplain to a non-floodplain within a block.
Mhm.
That floodplain to a non-floodplain automatically devalues the
Oh,
property.
yeah.
Well, and how many different neighborhoods will you go
Yep.
through in a 1-mile radius?
Exactly.
You know.
Well, and even on that 9th Street, 10th Street, that area where there's
Mhm.
the Roots homes, those
Yeah.
houses are 235
Sure.
to 265,
Sure,
depending
sure.
if they finish basements and the square footage.
Mhm.
So, of course, he's putting into the system 5-bed, 3-bath, 2,500 square foot. Okay. It doesn't ask, are you in a floodplain? It doesn't ask
No.
you, how did you purchase this house? It was a foreclosure.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's some history that goes into this. And so the first thing the kid says, it's worth $265 after I say, yeah, it's probably worth $185 to $195. So we're at an $80,000, $90,000 difference. I'm like,
You're arguing with the computer, though.
I can't do that. I'm like, but ultimately you're the boss. But I cannot get you that price.
Yeah.
Well, and what compounds this is that we are still coming off. I mean, and I would say it's been a year and a half since things were really crazy, right?
Right.
But we're still coming off of that high that sellers were on, where sellers were like, "Oh man, I listed my house and I sold it for $50,000 over what I listed it for." So there are still sellers that are coming onto the market
Yep.
that are thinking they're going to be able to command that kind of a list price.
What do you
And
mean,
it-
Tim? We can't do that. My cousin did it.
Yeah, no, my cousin did it
Yeah,
a year and a half
yeah,
ago.
my cousin did
My
it a
cousin
year
did
ago.
a year ago. Yeah,
You should
exactly.
be able to do it.
So between what the Zestimate says and what people are, and people having these preconceived notions of what their property is worth, that's creating the problem.
It is. I mean, we're not, and we used to have to use the example of February versus September listings.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you list a house in February, March, and April,
Oh, yeah.
those by far are the best months to list a house. I mean, it ain't even close. I mean, I could pull 14 years of history of me selling real estate of where I'm going to sell 40% of my properties and where I'm going to sell for my average sale price. If I list your property, Tone, in February or March, and then if you would have asked me in September or October, it's probably a $10,000 to $15,000 difference of what I can list your property.
Yeah. That's, I mean,
I know that,
and that's one more reason why people. I mean, I talk to people. I was like, when do you have to sell?
Yeah.
And it's not, if you have to sell in January, okay,
Right.
we'll sell in January.
Yep.
But I will always advise, you know what, if you really want to take advantage of the market, we need to be looking at like April, May.
Yep.
Because that swing exists, and that swing exists every single year.
Yeah, you can pull the trends, and you can do whatever you need to do. And I mean, Tony, you've known me for years, and you've known me on this podcast for almost a year and plus. I mean, I go off trends. I mean, I go off everything I based off is trends. I mean, a paper application is a paper application. It doesn't mean that you're as good as that paper application.
Exactly.
I mean, it is what it is. If I shake a hand and I see a face and I know, okay, this is your trend. And when I pull, I mean, it goes back to my days of when I was a banker and I was doing credit reports and doing all that stuff. We're still doing credit reports on the property management side, and you get to develop a trend. And you see, okay, you're 725 now, but let me see what your last 7. Oh, well, you're 725 because you filed bankruptcy 5 years ago, and now your credit's rebounded. Yeah. So, I mean, are you going down that same path? Well, okay, I see you got this. So trends are real, and it's definitely when you're dealing with the market and how quick real estate can swing the market. You really have to educate the trends to your people, because if you're not educating your buyers and sellers up front, that 0.5% Fed rate drop we just had it's already spurred the market a little bit, because it started thinking sellers are like, oh shit, there's going to be a lot more buyers out there, and buyers are like, oh, maybe I can get a lower rate here. If you go to the trend, there's still going to be one more drop before the presidential election. I mean, and we've talked about this a year and a half prior to the presidential election. I'm like, you just watch, see what happens.
No, and I'm talking to people, and part of me, and I want to say, and I am saying that, we've dropped 0.5 point. Woo! Great. But I'm also kind of saying, well, hold on, because we might be dropping another 0.5 point here pretty soon.
Real quick. And I mean, this is probably the first time you and I could say in our real estate careers that we can say, don't lock that rate.
Oh, yeah.
But you would have thought when there was 3% rates and 3.65 rates, we're like, lock that sucker in. Lock that sucker in right now, because we don't know how long it's going to stay there.
Yeah.
But right now, if you're thinking, damn, I got a good rate, it's 5.75. Don't lock that, because it could go down. It could go down. I don't see it going back up because of what the environment we're in right now. You got, once again, you got a guy that was at 3%, and another guy that's running at, or another gal that's running at 7%. So they want to close that gap now.
But have you guys talked about now, and if you have, then we don't have to go down this rabbit hole, but have you talked about, why we don't want to see the interest rates go back down to 2 to 3%? I mean, would you agree with that?
Well, I agree and disagree. So, I've been in this biz from my banking days back to 06, 05.
How old are you?
I am 43.
So I'm older than you. But I've been listening to these podcasts, and I'm just like, God dang, Lucas has been doing this for a long time.
I've been dealing with interest rates and mortgage rates since 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was like my big boy job when I got out of college. My big boy job.
But anyway, why do you give me the disagree.
So, where I disagree is because we're realtors and we want the market stimulated.
Sure.
And even if it doesn't go as low as it, you're right. You don't want to see the 3% again in the 2.75s, because it created utter chaos. And we really weren't doing our fiduciary duties that I felt to our clients, because we were at the point where we're saying you need to put an offer in with no inspections, or you need to put an offer in waiving this and waiving that. Because there was 10 other offers coming in.
Triggering me, man.
Yeah. So that's where I guarantee Tim's going to go with the bad. And it was bad, because, I mean, I remember the tail end of it where we were having disclosure sign that says you are aware that you're waiving this, and this is not my problem 6 months from now, because you're waiving this. The positives with it is it does stimulate the economy. And it does get people off their ass that's been sitting there.
Which is why they did it during the pandemic.
It's exactly right.
Because you hit that. Yep. You see a 3% interest rate. We got down below. We got between 2 and 3, didn't we, at one point?
Yep.
But you see a 3% interest rate. Oh my gosh, I'm going out and buying something today.
Yes.
And so that makes sense. But when people tell me all day long, oh, you must have loved it when it was down there.
Hell no.
I did not.
No.
I did not like taking a buyer into a situation where they had to write an offer at the top of their budget, and I knew they were going up against like 12 other offers.
And you knew they probably weren't going to get it.
And if they did get it, they're paying too much for it.
It's exactly right.
Yeah.
And we've had the episode. Tim, have you seen the episode with the ripple in the water effect?
No, but I'm going to go watch it tonight.
It's probably one of our best episodes because it talks about a lot of this. And it talks about, the 90s and then the late 2000s where the recession hit. And then, that ripple in the water, how it affect the small construction workers because it put new construction on freeze. And, you had one of the biggest places out in Des Moines go up and under, and they had 40% of the market share. So that means all those plumbers didn't have jobs, those siding guys didn't have jobs, the whole ripple effect. We're going to see the ripple effect in the real estate market that happened during COVID, probably this year and next year. Because as soon as these rates drop, these people that overpaid for their houses, they're going to think they need to get what they paid for that house. And because it is a true saying, and it's been since 2005 when I was in banking to today, that the average person touches their mortgage within 3.5 years of living in the house, whether they refinance it, take money out, or they just transfer banks with it. Average is 5 years. It's like 4.8, I think, is what the average was. Someone lives in their house. Either they buy it or sell it, and then so we're reaching that years where they start touching that mortgage.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're going to be like, hey, man, I bought it for this. And now the appraisers are going to go out there and say, okay, you want to refinance this and lower your rate and whatnot? It's not worth what you paid for.
Well, because, I don't know if you've done this, but if you look at the Cedar Rapids market from, I can't remember what I used. I can't remember what platform I used, but it pulled and it showed the appreciation rate. And from I think from 81 up to the present. And it ticks up, and it ticks up, and it ticks up, and they hit 2008, and it did go up in 2008. 2009, it dipped like 1%.
That's where the recession hit.
You know what? And then it came up, and then I think it steadied, and then I think in 2011, it dipped another one.
It did. Yep, that's when Dodd-Frank came out, was 2011, and that's where all the regulations came out to the bankers.
Yep. And now it's going to start, and since then, it's been ticking up, ticking up, ticking up. I think this year, we're seeing it drop. Maybe a half, maybe not a lot, but I think we're going to see it drop.
I can guarantee my buyers, or my sellers, I can't get them what we got 2 years ago. I can look them in face and have an honest conversation that says what shit was selling for 2 years ago. And that's going to put a stagnant on the appreciation, but it needed to put a stagnant on it. So what's going through right now sucks. The market sucks.
But it's necessary.
But it's absolutely necessary.
100%. Yep.
They said we're going to lose 30% of the realtors by next year nationwide. Okay. See you later.
Sorry.
All right. Where's the bad news in this? What they're not telling you what the bad news is that, your October, your November, your December is really going to be tight.
Well, and I really feel for those. I'm thankful I got my license in 2018 because I had about, and I don't like to say normal, but I had about a good solid, I would say two. I would say I had two cycles where I worked in a quote unquote normal market before the effects of COVID really hit. And these realtors that got their license when things were just banging.
Oh my God, and everything. Spoiled.
Oh yeah, no, well, and I just feel like now they're hurting.
Yeah. You gotta hustle.
Well, and we've always talked about this, our time and our schedule and our management of time and whatever not. Back then, and you know what? You would have thought I was cursing at my agents today because I mentioned the word farming and I mentioned the word, hitting on doors and so on and so forth. And God bless her heart, she just got her license and she's like, what is farming? What is farming? And then I got a guy that's been licensed 4 years sitting next to me and he's like, what is farming?
Oh, wow.
And I'm like...
This is the perfect podcast to explain farming.
Okay, so I'm not talking taking crops out of the field.
Farming.
Yeah, so farming was a tool that was used in basically late... So 2011 to 2016, farming was huge. And this is where marketing companies started the mass mailers. So the mass mailers started going out right about that time, and as soon as they could get all your information on the internet, and people were getting on the internet, and it showed that you looked up this, and now you're like, oh shit, you're interested in a house. Now you became on a mailing list. And so farming was, and so I'll use a prime example, is I was a banker at the time, and I was also selling real estate, so I knew everyone in Center Point, essentially. Yeah. So I picked areas of the new developments that were going up that I sold houses to already, and I put on a regular tickler where it would just drop mailers off on a monthly basis to all these people living in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. That's farming.
Yeah.
So I'm hitting everyone in an area that I have already done business.
You're basically doing a shotgun blast out and just seeing what sticks. Yep.
So in the real estate world, that's called farming. And so today we're out at a this great Airbnb furnished finder area right next to Kinnick Stadium. We still manage 14 properties out there.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, I've sold each of these properties twice in the last 2 years. And they're like, that's crazy. I'm like, it is crazy. And I go, but where I have lacked is because I've been so busy. Because I brought a new agent with me today where we were walking and taking pictures, and I had my brand Beemore that was sitting right next to me. Been in the market, been doing this for 4 to 5 years, and he was sitting right next to me. And he's like, okay, why are we out here? Type situation. He's looking at me all cross-eyed. I'm like, dude, I have so. And he even admitted, he's like, man, you sold that one, you sold that one, you sold that one twice. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, yeah. I go, for 3 years I made a living off these out here.
Mm-hmm.
I go, where I've lacked is because I've been so busy, I haven't been able to hit every other unit out here.
Yeah.
I go, and they're all individually owned, and there's some investors that are out here, and I got a call from the management company that was managing the other ones at like the other 30 units out there, and I manage 14 of them.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, there's other investors that want to sell out here. And I drove by and I saw 2 for sale signs in the same complex that have been sitting there forever. I'm like, man, I just need to figure out who they are because I'll call them today and have an offer tomorrow.
Right.
and because I already got guys that own 14 of them out there, so I'm like, we'll buy these up.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing of farming is, you take an area that's been relatively hot,
mm-hmm.
and you just plaster everyone in that area.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. And the guy that's been in for 4 or 5 years, he got his license when he's 18 and he's 24, so 6 years. He's been into it. So he's been into it about 6 years. And he looked at me cross-eyed because in 2016 to 2022, 23, you didn't have to worry about doing that creative marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You didn't have to worry about the door knocking because the market was so hot that you had people knocking on your doors wanting to know, how can I buy a house?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the door
people that had no business buying houses.
Well, and, you got real estate brokerages that have door fronts and, storefronts is what they call them. And you're seeing that going away. I mean, you got companies that are trying to overtake our market right now their main solicitation is there's no office. Your office is your house. I mean, that's that epic real estate.
My office is my house. I mean, Skogman's got their, and that building is awesome. Have you been in that building?
Gorgeous,
it's a great building.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
But we've got our Hiawatha office up for sale or up for lease.
Yep.
We closed down our Marion office. Which is fine because we're just moving to a different, we're just moving to a different model. And so we're going to have our centrally located headquarters in downtown, and we still got our office in Coralville. But, man, I had my office down there, and, it's no secret. They were saying, well, we'd like you guys to,
be in the office.
Be in the office. And I said, my office was going to be my home office. And they're like, okay, that's fine. I mean, if you're selling, it's if you're producing, it's fine. It's not a big deal. So yeah, I mean, and it's just changing the models.
It is, and it's getting changed drastically because of the market we've been in. So the storefronts are going away. I mean, you can look on the MLS and see MLS is a multiple listing system. By the way, if you don't know, it's like
I thought it was service.
Oh, well, anyways,
learn something new every day.
So it's a system they have in place where all the listings go through commercial, multifamily, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
If you pull up like the commercial right now, you see half of them are old real estate office.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Revolution Realty, you got Next Realty, they're gone. I mean, they've lost their storefront. You got Skogman that's got two of their properties. Coldwell just sold their Marion one.
Oh wow,
Marion location. So I mean, it is people are closing down these storefronts because of what we're dealing with for a market. So I'm telling you, people take for granted the realtors of the world, and I just ran into. We've talked about on previous episodes, it always comes back to AMT, or always comes back to us, and we talked on the last episode of clients that are just blah, blah, blah. So we had, I've had 4 clients that thought they could do FSBO because they thought they were still in last year's, thought they were still in last year's market.
Yeah.
And that I had to walk their properties today and yesterday, and I was running from Iowa City to Waterloo today, and walking properties, and it was crazy. And I'm like, you cannot get this price that you want on FSBO.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. I go, and she's like, well, it's dead. There ain't even walking around. I go, because you're, and she's in the hot price range, like 100 to 125,000, really clean house.
Oh wow.
So like she's in a hot marketplace, and I'm like, it ain't gonna go. Right. I'm like, us realtors right now, we don't want to see FSBO.
No.
And I'm going to tell you straight up, the advantage of having a realtor is we have buyers, qualified buyers.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I go, how many nonsense phone calls do you take because you're on FSBO?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, a lot. I go, how many offers have you had? And you're in the 105 price range. She goes, 0. And the only thing I've had is lowball offers by investors.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Every offer, I feel like every offer on FSBO are, they're all people that are trying to cut corners.
Yep.
And in my mind, 80% of those people are not what I would call serious people in life, not just in behind. They just aren't serious people. So they're probably not pre-approved. They're like, oh, you're gonna accept my offer? Okay, let me go talk to my lender.
Yeah, that's not how this stuff
goes. Or let me go in the backyard and dig up my jar of change.
You are 100% correct. Yep. I mean, and Tim couldn't hit it more on the head, is because she was so sick of the nonsense. She's like, I got an open house on Sunday that I'm doing. I don't want to do it. Because I know most of the people that come through are going to only be my neighbors. And it's true. Us as realtors, we pre-qualify our people, or supposed to pre-qualify our people. And we are bringing qualified offers.
Yeah.
And you know what? And it is a national law that we have to present all offers. But we get back to the education piece. Mm-hmm. We're educating our buyers before they put that offer in. Exactly. This is what the market is.
Yep.
This is what's sold in this area. This is what we should be paying for this property. Mm-hmm. So once again, that education piece, and that's probably the title of this episode, is probably education.
Education, I like it.
Because we are educating our people on the steps and the process and what it is. It's like Tim said, I mean, and you've dealt with it before, where you've dealt with an FSBO. I guarantee it.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's like, oh, man, are you going to write my side of the offer too? Are you going to make sure this gets to a closing table? Hell no, you're an FSBO. Call your lawyer.
You're right.
Well, have you seen the, I think it's on the CRAR form. We have it on our forms where if they're a buyer and they write on an FSBO, we're actually knocking it up another percent point.
We just discussed that as brokerage.
Because you're going to end up doing the extra work to get it to the closing table.
It's true.
You're not representing the seller, but you might need to advise them to the extent that they can get their paperwork in order and they have crossed the I's and dotted the T's, so that you can get your buyer to the closing table and you can get your buyer the property that they want.
Because ultimately, that is the goal, is to get this thing to a closing table. And and you've heard other episodes, I'm sure, and Tone and I have talked about it, is where these guys puff their chests and these other realtors are like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yo, we're just trying to get this thing to a closing table.
Oh, yeah. No, and we started talking collaboration.
Yep.
And that's my biggest thing. When I'm looking across the table and I'm looking at that listing agent, that buyer's agent, and there's definitely agents out there where I'm like, oh man, okay, this is gonna be okay.
Hang on,
this is gonna be all right.
Yep.
And then there's those ones out there. There's more. I feel in this market there are more agents like that, where I'm perfectly happy. I'm like, yes, this is gonna be okay. This is gonna go as smooth as the agents can make it go.
Right. Well, you go north or go south. Go south.
I don't want to.
No, exactly. You go south 15, 20 minutes, and it's a completely different world.
Yeah.
Like these realtors literally got their license because the market's been hot for 12 plus years. Mm-hmm. Iowa City's been insane. Yeah. But if you watch Iowa City, so we could venture down to the Iowa City market and write an offer and we'll be completely fine.
Oh, yeah.
They venture into our market and try to write an offer. It is a completely backward situation. It is like, I'm like, oh God, I'm going to have to have to teach this gal how to do an offer.
Can I bring up my beef with the Iowa City properties?
Yeah,
this is a safe place. This is a safe space.
Well, it's just
I'm just gonna yell pineapple if you cross the line.
Are you in the Iowa City MLS too?
Yeah, Waterloo, Iowa City, and then
nice. No, it's just I know that, and I've had conversations with Skogman realtors about the Iowa City property disclosure, who like the Iowa City property disclosure,
because you don't have to disclose anything,
and that's
it's true,
and that's my problem. That's my problem. And you know what? If they want to fill out those property disclosures and they want those to be attached to their MLSs, their listings in Iowa City, that's fine. But when they list a property in Cedar Rapids and I click on that little sheet icon and an Iowa City property disclosure pops up on a Cedar Rapids listing, it makes me really angry.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And here's the problem. As a listing agent, I want my sellers to represent their property to the best of their ability. I don't want them trying to hide stuff. Yep. And that form allows sellers to hide because it's very vague.
It
is not specific. And the reason I say I win in this argument is because I just feel like there's more integrity in being transparent than in trying to hide stuff.
It's going to come to tenfold eventually.
Sure.
It's all coming to light. And I tell my sellers that the thing. If you don't know, just put NA. You don't know.
Yeah. No, exactly. And that's what I always
that.
Yep, that's what I always tell my sellers. I tell my sellers, it's like, you don't need to one, don't ask me because I don't know, but you don't need to like dig back in records. You don't need to go to the assessor's site. You don't need to go to the recorder and try to find the answer to this one question. If you don't know, you don't know. And that's okay.
That is okay. Just don't put yes or no if you don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and the kicker of it, so like that Iowa City property disclosure, I mean, it gets so vague, and like this is a little extreme, but it's pretty damn close. Like ours is like, has there ever been any structural damage to the property? Have you ever had an insurance claim against the property? I mean, you're getting into the meats and the bones of it, like especially with the ratio and whatnot. Get into the Iowa City property disclosure. It's like basically they put, has your house ever tipped over? And they're like, no, okay, on to the next question.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's the age of the roofs on our property disclosure on theirs is like, have you had to replace a roof in the last 10 years? I mean, so it's like, I mean, that's where it gets different. And like ours is, what is it, 8 pages? 5?
It's 5 or 6.
Yeah, it's 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And theirs is 3.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no areas of what's included in the house or anything like that. It's just a very vague.
When I print them out, because I'll pull them all up and I'll print everything out, and I'll see it and I just want to throw it away. I don't even want to give it to my buyer because what's the point? You know?
Yeah. Well, and it's like when we get into some deals, like especially us, we both deal with investors.
Mm-hmm.
So we work in the same marketplace. So I get to see Tim on a regular basis, which is good. And with the collaboration, like you were talking about earlier too, him and I are constantly, he's got investors, I have properties, and vice versa. So we have that line that's crossed where we can shake a hand. And I mean, it just because it's Skogman and Burrington real estate, it doesn't mean it's like Democrat and Republican.
Right.
I mean, it is like we're in the same market, we're trying to accomplish the same goals. Let's figure out how we can do this. And I have, the property management side, which will feed into the real estate side, where that's where it's a benefit into someone like Tim and us to have a relationship, is because I ain't gonna lie, I ain't gonna share that with any other realtors out there. I mean, there is Burrington real estate realtors, I get access to it, and probably 2 other ones, and Tim being one of them.
Thank you.
And I like to keep it that way, because it's not that I get greedy with it, but I want to understand that I'm not losing this client.
Yeah.
And on the management side, if I allow them to have access to it.
Well, it goes back to our other episodes of loyalty,
integrity.
About
trust. Hell yeah.
And just working with good people that are in it for the right reasons. If you started to be into real estate for money, that's not do it to help people. Do it to put roofs over heads. Obviously, the other things come with it, but that's only if you do it right.
It's difficult to, and not to go off down a different rabbit hole here, but I've been I was listening to that, and I've heard you guys say that a couple times, and I was thinking, it is a job, and it's difficult to get into that mindset, especially starting out.
Yeah.
Like you need to come at this. You need to come at this profession from a place of service.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people. There might be people listen to this podcast say that's bullshit. Tim. You're just saying that. No, you're coming to it from a place of service. And if you come at this industry with a good work ethic, and if you come at it from a place of service, then you're going to do fine.
Right.
You're going to do fine.
Yep.
So don't worry about chasing that check. But it is scary because you come into this and you're 100% commission. Nobody's paying you nothing.
Yep.
And you got a mortgage and you've got kids.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, man, how am I going to pull this off? So I mean, I understand how some people can go in this opposite direction where they're just like, I'm going for that money and I'm going for that paycheck because I'm desperate.
Right.
Yeah,
and they'll be those short-lived in the game. and they'll be the ones that were like, okay, you're losing 30% of America's realtors.
Which is why they need education and they need mentorship and they need coaching.
I
right?
agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny that you just said that because exactly what you just said is the conversation Monique and I were having on the way here from Waterloo. I don't get a lot of trips where we got a little window time, and it is amazing the days that she gets to come with me because we get to talk about life.
Yeah.
We get to talk about my worries.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this market scared the shit out of me this last 3 months especially.
Yeah.
I've never had a board as light as I am, and I'm like, man, I got 25 listings by the end of next week. But that don't do us any damn good if there ain't buyers buying.
If they're not,
And so like I think my comment to Monica was, I go, I've always been taught and I've always trained myself to, if I do the right thing and I go to work every day, I'll be okay. And in real estate, I've seen bad realtors make a lot of money because they showed up every day and they did work. They might not have known why they were there. They might have been second guessing everything they were doing, but the fact that they were told they needed to be there every day and they showed up every day, they did all right. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I mean, and I think the history that you'll see, Tim. I mean, you're in year 6, so when you hit year 9 and year 10. All those people that question why you were in it or your reason for being in it, they're now your clients.
Oh yeah,
I mean, they're going to be the ones that are like, hey, okay, he's still doing it.
Yep,
he's still there. He's still hustling.
Serious. He's dedicated.
Yep. Those are going to be your clients.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
I deal with clients all the damn time where their cousin 5 years ago got their license, so I got to go to my cousin, I got to go to my uncle, I got to go to that because they got their license, and now they're my client today. Because guess what? Cousin uncle is no longer in the game.
Yep.
And so,
but just the other side of that coin though, some of those new realtors that just got that license, they're dependent on that uncle or that cousin or that brother and sister, and hopefully they're a good realtor. Hopefully they're doing their due diligence, and that's kind of always the thing. You're just like, okay, go with them. I hope they've only had their license for 6 months. Hope they know what they're doing.
Yeah, once again, it's the biggest transaction of your life.
Right. Yeah.
So Tim, tell me, you deal with the investor world with me, and how do you think the personalities have changed the last 3 years in the investor field?
Oh, geez. I would say a lot more cautious.
Yep.
I mean, I think that for a while it was just kind of fly by the seat of your pants, and it was like whatever. But I think there's a lot more caution out there. The good deals are few and far between.
Yep,
they're tough.
You got to have guys like you and I working together to find those.
Oh, totally.
The off-market deals are still the best deals, and then if you don't got a realtor that has that clientele that can call a Rolodex. Boy, we're bringing out all the old terms, Rolodex, farming and whatnot. But if he can't go through his Rolodex,
because you need someone that's been in the market, in the industry for that long.
Yep. Rhyming. Yeah. So we just on the way up here, we went to Waterloo, and so we were in Waterloo, kind of a spur of the moment, like, oh shit, I was supposed to be there at noon type thing. I got there at 1.
Yep.
And we left Iowa City of an investor that bought those 14, and then he sold them again, and that's the big deal Chuck and I got to is when I sold them again.
Yeah.
And then this one out of Waterloo we just ran to. I mean, we were literally on a sprint. I'm like, Monica, I'm picking you up at the office. Let's go. Yep. And he's got a duplex that he listed a year ago with another realtor company. Didn't get professional pictures. Didn't even come out and walk the property. So on and so forth. Go ahead.
Let's put a pin in it. Just real quick. This was the one thing I wrote down. This was the one thing I wrote down from the 5 podcasts I listened to, and there's so many things I wanted to comment on.
Yeah.
You paid for your photos when you sold your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure.
You paid for your photos.
Yeah.
That I was just like, I wanted to jump through the damn phone.
Well, and it's funny.
You didn't know any better.
Not at all.
You didn't know any better.
First time buyer, first time seller, had no clue.
Well, and it's crazy because I said that to this investor today.
Today?
Yeah, today. I go. So when are you gonna have this tenant move into this unit? Because I go, this unit's never gonna show better than it is now because it's vacant. He just got done remodeling the unit.
Yep.
So I made sure to snap my own pictures because I know my photographer's probably not gonna be able to get there till Monday or Tuesday, and he's got a tenant moving in on the 1st. I'm like, okay, so it's never gonna look this great. So I'm gonna snap some pictures, and I go, but I'm gonna order professional pictures. And they're going to be out here either Monday or Tuesday because I think I'm above average when it comes to taking some pictures. I got a kick-ass phone that kicks.
Are you saying, when you say you're above average, are you just saying that you just got to make sure that you're not in the mirror when you're taking the photos? Is that your level of?
I had Brandon in the mirror on one of them. I had Tristan in the mirror on another one today. I was in the mirror in the bathroom one. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be some spooky.
He's got a nice phone. That's what he's trying to say.
Yes, but anyways. But the first thing and it's funny you said that, Tim, because the first thing is like, who pays for those photos? I go, what do you mean? I do. That's me. I cover that cost.
Yeah.
That's my cost. So he obviously had to pay for his photos last time it happened, or it was an expense that was given to him that was like, this is going to be your cost if we get professional pictures.
And this is just because it's something that irks me every single time is that's standard.
Right.
That's standard.
And when you go, realtor's covering that cost.
And if you're going to pay for your own. And if you go to a quote unquote discount realtor or a flat rate realtor, I would not be surprised if you're paying for your photos.
Well, and this was the realtor company he had before was a flat rate real estate company, and
and you shouldn't pick. You shouldn't hire me just because I'm gonna pay for the photos. That's not what it's about. But it's an indicator. Yeah. It's one indication of the difference between a realtor that's going to really like do the job for you and a discount realtor that you're just one more number on a line, right?
Well, and it's crazy you say that because when I was talking to that FSBO yesterday and I was talking to her and I'm like, so what are they covering for you? What's your closing cost?
I've always wondered that. What does FSBO cover?
So not much. They do supply some photos. They do supply an attorney that you have zero access to. And I will call FSBO tomorrow and have this conversation if they want to have a conversation because I've been in enough transactions to be like, which one do you want me to bring out?
Yeah.
And then they have a cancellation fee.
Oh yeah, I know.
And that cancellation fee is ridiculous. On a $105,000 house, your total commission. If I was to go and double bang on a $105,000 commission, I might get $5 to $6 grand.
I have a rookie story for you.
Yeah. Their cancellation, so they're charging her half that, so they're charging her $3,500 to list that property. Mm-hmm. The cancellation fee at this time, and she's already had it 4 months with no activity, is still going to be almost $1,200. Mm-hmm. and she's like, "Are you going to cover this for me?" I go, "Hell no! That's my commission right there. You made a choice here. I sold you this house. I put you in a great position. You bought it for $76,000, and now they're telling you can list it for $108 in 2 years. Yeah, I did my job. Yep." I should have done my job to be able to get this listing right back. So you want me to cover your cancellation? I'm good. Yep. I'm good. I'll move on to the next thing.
This is a couple of years ago. I'd never not sold a house. I'd never not sold a listing. And my record's still pretty darn good. Yeah, I think I've got 2 that I've not sold, and this was one of them. Mm-hmm. And it was a FSBO, and I came in there just cocky as shit. And I was like, I can sell this for you. And he goes, okay. And he had it listed for FSBO. Mm-hmm. I paid it. I paid the cancellation.
Oh, man, not happening.
I did it. I did. No.
I've been there, done
like
that.
I said, rookie mistake. I did it. I paid that because I was like, man, the commission on this is going to knock that clear out of the park. But it was another situation where a seller was getting in the way of himself because we could not sell it because he would not bring it down to what the property was worth. Right?
You saw that Zestimate.
That's Zestimate. So wait, just real quick, going back, I like this. We see it comes full circle. Oh, yeah. I brought it back to my story. Yeah. So no, that property sat on the market for 2 months
Mm-hmm.
at the price that they wanted us to list it at. We dropped it. We got an offer. We got an offer the first weekend it was on the market. It's a great house. A great house. We got an offer, and they didn't want to take it because it was too low. They're like, well, this is the first weekend. Now surely we're going to get more offers. First offer is your best offer.
I always tell my
First
sellers
offer is
that.
your best offer.
all the time.
He says that.
It sat on the market for another month and a half. We dropped it below what that offer was.
Yep.
We talk about this.
We ended up
First
selling
offer's
it.
your best offer.
We ended up selling it for $15,000 below that offer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no.
Yep.
40 below what we listed it at.
That's crazy.
And do you know what I had recommended we listed at the beginning of the whole shebang?
Yeah, probably what it sold at.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Yep.
Can you believe it?
So Tim,
Can
I'm
you
gonna let
believe
you.
it?
I'm gonna let you in on a little bit of Burrington real estate. It should be probably part of our mission statement. Make it someone else's fault.
What?
So,
Wait, what?
yes. So make it someone else's fault. So when I get into a situation like that, I will literally bring them a listing agreement with what I think it should sell at and what they want to sell it at. So I'll bring two.
It's documented.
It's documented. I want you to see what I think it is. This is your fault, not mine.
Oh yeah.
So I will literally bring two listing documents. Here's what I think it should sell at,
Yeah.
and I'll put $100 bill on top of that one.
Yeah.
I bet you it sells for right here.
I like that. Yeah.
And then I'll bring what they want to go at. Because, and Monika can vouch, the first thing I said today, I said, this is probably what it's going to sell for. I go, but you're the boss. I'll list it at what you want me at.
You got this, big dog.
I'm like,
Yep.
And he
then-
had the right comment.
Yep.
He goes, well, no, you're the professional here. I'm like, yeah.
There we go.
That's
There
the
we
right-
go.
that's
And
right.
we're back.
Yes.
But that's-
and now we're back.
And so then to go back to all this the NAR settlement, everything that's happened here, and these sellers down in Missouri feeling like, and don't get me wrong, it was, I will say that was the realtor's fault because they got bullied, they got cajoled, got something happened where these sellers felt that they didn't have a choice, but it is always the client's choice.
Always.
You exist. You exist to inform, you exist to advise, but you do not make the decision.
No,
and
hell no.
yeah, it is the seller, it is the buyer, they make the decision.
Well, and backing you up on that, we don't want to make the decision.
No.
Because now it's our fault.
Exactly.
It's got to be someone else's fault.
But that's why sometimes it ends up getting listed $40,000 over what it sells for.
Because they're the boss.
Because they're the boss. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
So, I mean, it is so true. I mean, you can ask Chuck. I always say, Chuck, always make it someone else's fault.
Can I get a
Return that-
splishy splash of that?
Yes.
Which one do you want?
You got options today.
I do the American honey.
Okay.
I'm not a bourbon guy, I told you.
Well,
The
hey.
honey is nice.
I do like
enjoy
the Wild Turkey 101. You got that? Not here.
No.
But do you ever do that? I like the Wild Turkey
on
101.
night that I don't want to remember.
Yeah, I'm terrified of wild turkey. So
Me
he
too. This
said
is the
wild
only
turkey.
stuff I want.
I was like, oh, here we go. But American honey,
It
cheers
is sweet.
to that.
Yes.
Yeah,
It is one of the originals. Wild Turkey goes into the Jack Daniels field. It goes into the Jim Beam field. Wild Turkey is as old, if not older. So, but yeah, it is absolutely crazy how we get into the whole client relationship with your realtor and trusting in the advisor in it. But once again, we've talked about it on the property management side where, 4 years ago, we were not a necessity. We were, what's the word that I've used before? We were something that was a convenient factor. Now property management is a necessity because of all the rule changes and law changes. And we're the same route with the realtors because FSBOs are not selling right now. And the reason is because we're the professionals. We have the buyers and the sellers out there that is going to get properties moved. So,
and this might be a really great opportunity for FSBO to just take a dive. Well, I just think that when things were hot and heavy and things were just like when things were just going, sure you could put a sign in the yard and with properties selling for as much as they were, it was attractive to be able to cut out that commission because I mean shoot, if you're looking at a $500,000 property, you're looking at some money. What is I can't do that, but I'm thinking like $30,000. Yeah, about 30. Like if you're selling a $500, you're looking at about $30,000 you can cut out of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And your salary.
All day long. Let's do it, you know. But man, it's like sometimes though, you know, you get that person that bought that FSBO and then 2 years later something pops up. And you're and they're, why is this happening to me? It's like, well, because you didn't have anybody representing you
it's a
in the
FSBO,
transaction.
and they had the Iowa City disclaimer.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. And when everything happens for a reason, I mean, you'll get into, and Tim and I are going to enter that market. I predict it in the next 6 to 7 months where you got people losing deals on bids because it'll get back to a bidding war out there. I have no doubt in the next 6 to 7 months we're going to see that. And the best thing I always advise my people when they're talking pricing, if they should buy this house or not, make an offer that you're not going to be pissed about losing.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna be pissed about losing that offer when there's a potential of a competing offer on it, then make that offer that you're not gonna be pissed about losing.
And don't feel bad about it.
Yep.
Don't feel bad about lowballing. Don't feel bad about, like, I'm in. Do you do a lot of commercial? I know you got some commercial properties.
I do some commercial, yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing going. I see a lot more in commercial than I do in residential, but it's like,
well, you want to talk about a dead market?
we won't go down that rabbit hole too much. All I will say is, and I've heard you say it on one of these podcasts. You can write whatever you want. You can make whatever offer you want.
Legally, we have to present that.
Legally, you have to present it. Now here's the thing. Now, and I had on that same that property I was talking about. Great example. And I will say this. Real quick disclaimer. I do not fault the seller of that property for what they wanted to list it for. I understand why they felt justified to list it at what they was listed at. You know, I understand. I mean, you've got all these different voices and all this information coming at you, and we're only one voice.
Oh, hell, I blame them. And shit, I don't back down this one, Tim. We're the professionals. Listen to the guys.
No,
Are you going to go to a dentist for brain surgery?
Of course. But I'm not saying...
Are you going to go to a dentist for brain surgery?
I'm not saying though. Like, I get it. Like, I guess I empathize. I blame them, but I empathize.
No,
but anyway, I
guess if you would have called me year 6 into this, I'm with you on
that. If you really love a property, then don't lowball the shit out of it. Because then the seller's not going to want to work with you.
So let me get you in a quick story on that. So $1 million listing.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I haven't had one of those yet.
So $1 million listing, and I got this gentleman. We just sold his property. He's $1.2 million worth of his properties. He's buying a personal property for himself. We go out into this. It's $1 million listing. I mean, it was originally listed on the market at 1.3. It was not a 1.3 property. It was definitely a $1 million property. So they've done rate or price drops. So they've done the price drops on it. They're down to $1 million now on it, from 1.3 to 1 million. I love this guy. He's one of my best friends, and he says, "Okay, shit, they're at $1 million. Let's go out $895 on it." I'm like, "Man, they've already dropped this $300K." I'm like, "We can't go another $200K below this, or another $105,000 below this, whatever the heck you want to do." And I go, there's an opportunity that there's going to be multiple offers on this. The realtor called me. He said, you know what? There's a guy bringing in. He's like, oh, bullshit. He's just trying to sell this property. I go, no, I'm telling you straight up. If he disclaims that there's going to be another offer, then he legally cannot disclaim that unless there's another offer. He's like, I still want to stick with $895. Loved the house. He wanted the house. Wanted to move into it. Brought it up. He lost it. I mean, he lost it at $895. The guy didn't even counter back at us.
Yeah. He probably could have gone for $1 million.
Oh, it went for $950.
I'm talking about the buyer. The buyer probably could have gone there, but he just didn't want to.
Well, and that's what he said. He said, what it sold for, I would have paid.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why didn't we offer that?
Yeah.
That's like the most important thing we've said.
No,
if you will pay what the house could potentially sell for, and offer it.
But once again, I made it his fault. I'm like, there's an offer on the table. You're not going to get it at this offer.
And so what I will say about you versus me is you're just, I think it's because you've got more experience. You've been in the business a lot longer. I'm not bold enough yet to be that. Now I am factual, and I am a numbers guy, and I am very much like, here's my market analysis, here are my comps, here's what, like, I am very much like that. But I am not bold enough to like be like, yeah, you up, man. I'm not there yet.
wait
You
to
know.
tell
Yeah, I can't. Because I disclosed up front. This is what's happening. And you know why, Tim? Year 6 of Lucas. If you would have met me in year 6, I was exactly that way. I was. But I mean, for the next 7 years, I got blamed for everything. And I'm over that. I was like, man, this is not my fault. So, I mean, anything that went left, right, or upside down was my fault.
You know what? That was actually on you.
Yeah, you know what? I paid for that washer and dryer to get put in there. That wasn't put on that property disclosure because you didn't put it there. I still had to pay for that at closing. You know, you've been there, Tim. I know you have. You've been there.
Yeah. Oh,
we've had to buy washers, dryers, dishwashers.
You know what I did? I had a final walkthrough on Tuesday with a property closing on Wednesday this week. Mm-hmm. The buyer's agent calls me up on Wednesday and they go, "Well, the toilet won't stop running."
Your fault.
I was like, "Okay, but when they did the inspection, that wasn't an item on the inspection." She goes, "Well, we didn't note it because it wasn't a problem then, but I mean the toilet won't stop running." And you know what? And
you paid for it.
I always feel like I'm like talking, but you know, I just wanted to be like, okay, let's put on our big kid pants here. Let's go to Menards. Yeah. Let's buy some toilet guts.
Right.
Let's YouTube a video and let's fix that toilet.
YouTube University.
It's not on me, but
it was on you.
I called up Master Plumbing. I said, "Hey guys, can you get over there today and fix this out?" And I paid for it.
This is after closing, right?
Because it's not. No, it was before. It was the the issue came up before closing. It got fixed after closing,
right?
Because I set it up. But I mean, but it's one of those things where at some point, I think when your first couple of years. Especially when you're not really making anything.
Right.
Every little thing, it's just like death by 1,000 paper cuts. You know, you're just like, oh
it
God,
is.
you know.
And it's true. You know, and I teach my new agents that you don't let a $500 item keep you away from a $2,500 check.
Yeah.
I mean, the math doesn't math on that.
Well,
so if you got to pay $500 to get something, that's why I bought a lot of fridges, a lot of washers, a lot of dryers.
The technician,
a lot of toilets.
The technician called me up, and he's like, "Yeah, Tim, this is. Oh wait, the buyer just got here. Blah 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 blah." He goes, "Yeah, it's gonna be $240." And I started laughing, and he goes, "What's so?" And I work with Master Plumbing a lot. I like Master.
They
Plumbing.
do a good job.
I like Master Plumbing. And I start laughing. He's like, "What's so funny?" I was like, dude, if I had the time today, I would have bought the $20 kit, and I would have spent the half hour to drain the toilet, put the damn thing in. But you know what? I don't have time for that. So yes, go ahead and charge me $240.
Yep.
So I can get my check. You know, it's just
again, you know, you got $5,000 on the table. It's $240,
and you
spend the $240 to get the $5,000.
And on the other side, you have a first-time home buyer who 2 years from now, if I could like do the instant replay and play back, that first-time home buyer who's now been a homeowner for 2 years is probably like, shit, I could have fixed that toilet.
You know, the kicker of it is though, you got two different types of first-time home buyers. And you got the first-time home buyers that are responsible, and then you got the first-time home buyers that are bringing their parents to the showing. And you know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
The first-time home buyers that are responsible are like, okay, you know, I see a little grading issue. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to come throw dirt on the weekend, and I'm going to make sure that the grading issue is taken care of. And then you got the ones that bring the parents. They're like, oh shit, you got a foundation issue. This probably wall's going to collapse in a year. And Johnny, you shouldn't buy this house. So like, what do you mean? I'll go throw dirt. I'm like, Mom. Or you got the one, hey, you know what? My dad works construction, so he knows everything about this damn house, and he shows up to the inspector and the licensed inspector. That's Nash. I mean, they're certified. They got insurance. Blah 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 blah. This guy that has no idea about inspections, but he knows how to frame a house, now essentially is a licensed inspector. And that cost us thousands on an inspection report. Because part of the process of 11 days within an accepted offer, you have to do an inspection. If it's agreed upon on the purchase agreement.
I had just recently, I had a buyer's agent reach out to me, and they said, hey, can we do a walkthrough They just want to come in. They want to measure. They want to measure the rooms. They want to do all that. I said, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. No big deal. They did the walkthrough, and a family member came with them who had not seen it before. We're through inspections. We have done the IPI.
Oh,
we're done.
Yes.
We're done. And this person comes in. The buyer's agent called me angry, not at me, at their buyer.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, Tim, you won't believe what's going on right now. And I'm like,
you never want to hear the word.
What's going on right
Yeah.
now? And she kind of threw it all at me, and I was like, no. I said, no. You and we're commiserating. She was not on. It's like she was on my side. I said, no. You know how this works. This is not. We're past this, and these are not major issues either. And she's like, I know. I'll talk to him. And it ended up all being fine. Yeah. But that family member that comes in and
oh my God.
And then all you can do is hope and pray that you have a buyer's agent that one you're on the same page with, and two can talk down a first-time home buyer who's
bedside manner,
whose lifetime family member, somebody they've known since they were 3 years old or since they were born, is telling them this is a bad deal, don't do it, and you're just like, oh my gosh,
you guys don't know what they're talking about. So I had an instance, and this was a month ago. I had an instance at a closing table. Yeah. And I know Jeremy and I both ran into this over the years, but this is like the first time in a while that I ran into this issue at a closing table. They did their 24-hour walkthrough before closing. So, and they brought mom and dad.
Don't you love it when they do a walkthrough an hour before closing?
Oh my God.
And then something comes up and then...
here's what it is. So I'm sitting at the closing table. I'm representing the seller. Yeah, I'm representing the seller. So the buyer comes into the closing room, and I'm like, hey guys, how are you? You try to be friendly, bubbly. What's up? Okay.
I love the passive aggressiveness of like realtors' passive aggressiveness. Why? So good.
And I'm like, so what's up? And they sit down and they're pissed. You're obviously pissed. I'm like, oh shit, what's going on here?
Here we go. Yeah, you can feel it.
And the kids are. I know the son pretty decent, and I know his fiance pretty decent. They both look at me and they're rolling their eyes. I'm like, oh fuck, mom's got a problem.
You're on the buyer side?
I'm on the seller side.
You're on the seller side, okay.
So I'm on the seller side, and the buyers come in, and I know them pretty well. And
so you're on the seller side, but you know the buyers.
I know the buyers.
Okay,
yes,
gotcha.
Because I let them in. It was a property that we managed, so I let them in, and they were a tenant. And so anyways, mom comes into the closing table and just lights the seller side up, and I already know my seller. So my seller's not obviously at closing, but I represent the seller.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God. He would have handled it a lot different than I would have. And so I'm like, all right. They start signing their loan documents, and mom, the whole time during the signing loan documents, you guys need to stop signing because...
You should have been like, can I speak with you outside?
No, what I did is I took the keys and I took the deed packet and I walked out.
What?
So I'm like, we're at the closing table. I looked at... Nick Watson was the banker. And I grabbed everything off the table. And I grabbed it and I said, okay, you got a problem? Let me know if we're closing, but I'm taking the keys and the deed and I'm walking out of here right now. This deal's dead.
Yeah.
Love it.
And mom followed me outside.
Okay.
And mom's like, wait. I'm like, then you need to be quiet because this is already where it's gone. I go, we've already done everything that's been expected of us. This is what we've done. We've met all agreements. Yeah. They signed the final walkthrough stating that everything is good and they're kosher. And they bluntly looked at me in the eyes as they sat down, rolled their eyes and said, oh my God, you're going to have to deal with my mom. and
they know she's a headache.
Notice, so for me to go back into that closing room, I had to tell mom, you need to go to your car.
And what?
I go, if you want this thing to close, you need to go to your car.
And the thing is, and
I've watched Jeremy do the same thing in a closing.
I love
where
it.
he grabbed the keys in the deed packet and said, we're not closing then. Okay, see you later. If we got an issue, let us know. Write us up an addendum and we'll get to it.
And I just want to say before anybody listens to a story like that and says, oh, well, realtors, that's why you hire a good buyer's agent. Because a buyer's agent exists to advocate for you. Right. A buyer's agent has fiduciary responsibility to you. The buyer, you know what? And I don't know what the deal is with us. Maybe that mom had some really, really good points. Maybe. I'm not saying she did.
She cannot.
Yeah, of course. But I'm saying there's a chance that maybe they did. You know what? Great. But you hired a buyer's agent to represent you. Yeah. You hired a buyer's agent to advise you, and that's why. You don't ask your uncle that's had the license for 2 months.
Yep, you don't bring on the cousin.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm a giver, and I'm a healer, I'm a pleaser. So if it's legitimate and it is something that I can take care of, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure this gets to a closing table and then it closes. Because
But a walkthrough an hour before closing, what do you expect?
It happens all the time.
What is the?
I've done it.
And you're on $108,000 house, so there's going to be issues. There's going to be stuff that is not.
Well, this house that I was just talking about, where they came in after we've taken care of that's $119,000 house.
That's crazy.
And it's a damn nice house for $119,000. You know what this market looks like, you know. Yeah, there's going to be a couple issues. Is the house structurally sound? Yes. Did we take care of everything you asked for in the inspection? Yes. Shut up.
So I mean, and the thing is, the education part is my buyers. The reason they were rolling their eyes because I was at the walkthrough with them. I let them in. They hired their own personal inspector. So they've already been highlighted the issues that are wrong with this house, and they agreed to move forward with it. And it wasn't like major issues. It was something like, okay, you're probably going to have to paint this wall. Or you're probably going to have to do, you got a garbage disposal that's not working. You got a GFCI outlet that's not working. You're talking like a total of $300 worth of items.
And so you can go either way on that. Like, it's only $300, so the seller should take care of it. But I'm like, it's only $300, and this is $150,000 house. Take care of it yourself. Good Lord.
Well, and the kicker is if they would have brought this up at the time of inspection, which would have been 11. Keep in mind, this is a 45-day closings. You got your inspection within the first 11 days. So they've had 30 days to bring this up.
Yep.
And it hasn't been brought up. They've agreed to the final hour because Mom came through.
Yeah.
And
where was Mom?
Yeah.
Where was Mom when we were?
So I was making it someone else's fault. Great. Okay, you don't want to close? Okay, we're not closing. I'm walking out of here. I'm carrying my keys. Yeah. Mom, it's your fault now that this doesn't close.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah. I mean,
take
if
those
you
keys.
real estate is all about disclosing. If you disclose up front, this is what it is. This is how it is. You're signing off. You're agreeing upon this. This is no longer my fault.
Right.
I have disclosed everything I can, and integrity is a huge thing that us realtors have to carry. We're not used car salesmen. We walk with integrity. We know what it is. We're having everything signed off. We're having everything disclosed. We're giving you the option for inspection for inspectors.
We're well educated.
And don't get me wrong. I've had to eat crow so many times. Yep. There have been times where I was 100% wrong, and it's that integrity piece where you're just like, okay, yep, that was on me, and I'll pay for it. I'll get it fixed. I will make it right. And that's the thing, and the thing that really one thing that'll just every single time is when I know a realtor is in the wrong and they don't know it. Yeah, they don't know it.
And that's usually when the fire flies.
Yeah.
Because that's when the chest gets real puffed up.
Well,
they want to scream and yell and be like, and that's where we end the conversation with them. It's like, are we closing or not?
Well, and the thing you have to do is at some point, and it's happened to me before where my ego gets hurt, and I'm like, no, it isn't about me. This is about my client, and it's about what my client needs, And that's where I've had to take a step back. I've had to take a step out of a room. I've had to just be like. And I've had to count to 10, take some deep breaths, really think about what's truly important here because my ego's bruised.
Yeah,
and especially as men, I think that's really hard.
Well, it is. I mean, it is. But we've talked on episodes upon episodes for a year and a half how ego needs to leave the room.
Oh, totally.
As soon as you're representing someone making the biggest purchase of their life, your ego is out the door, but there is still a right and a wrong. And we have to balance that right and the wrong amongst our egos, because that's when you figure out who you are as a person. Is when you can make that decision to right, no matter how bad it's going to hurt on the other side. Because I've lost deals because of it. And I've had to look at my sellers in the face and be like, "Yo, you're wrong on this, and I represent you, so therefore I'm wrong." So it's one of those that. Egos is one of the biggest drivers in this because the testosterone level is going up. I want to beat you. My numbers need to be better than you type situation. So it is a motivator, but it's also you got to be able to use it. And we've talked in other episodes about de-escalation, and you got to be able to de-escalate the situation and put your ego off to the side.
I had a disagreement with a realtor recently, and it was definitely a moment where we were both I'd say we were 50-50. It was 50% that realtor and 50% me. I wouldn't say I was completely right on it. And he called me up. Or I called him first, and I said, "Hey, we got to talk this out." And he's like, "Yep." and he was very, very good at like saying, this is what I was trying to do, and I was just doing this, and I was like, I got it, but here's my side of the story, and it was great. Like it was actually like it was worse sitting there. I mean, and here's where technology screws with us. It was worse texting back and forth with him because I'm just getting angry. Just getting mad. Yeah. And then we had a conversation. And it was so cathartic to just have a conversation with somebody. And nobody got angry. We presented our sides and we figured it out.
Well, and I mean, I am like one of the, especially like this last month and a half, I'm like an awful communicator. And I know my flaw. And it's because I get
Manika made a face back there.
Yeah, I bet.
You could see it without looking at her.
Yeah, I felt it. And it's been so busy that, I mean, and it goes back to like the first 5 minutes of this podcast where I was like, Tim's one of those guys that I want to make sure I return the call to. And I will text him and say, I will call you back. Because I won't say I will text you back. I will call you back because the conversation.
You can have Chuck call me back too.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those that if I can't get to you, I'm going to make sure someone gets to you. But a conversation needs to be held with the ones that matter. The ones that don't matter when you know damn well you're talking to a brick wall. I mean, all right, I'll text you back when I get a free moment type situation.
And those aren't necessarily the people that are going to, some of those people are people that have been around for decades.
Oh my God. So, and it's funny you say that. You asked how old I was and how long I've been in this field, because you don't know how many times I've had the thing, and I tell my younger agents this all the time. I go, you're going to have to deal with it. I go, the only reason I grew a goatee is because it made me look maybe 5 years old.
Don't let some 65-year-old bully you.
And we get into those. I'm not going to mention any names. Larry Stevenson that gets into the field, and he's been in it 55 fucking years. And I don't know how many times that cold call I had to hear from Larry. I've been in this for 40 years. You've been in it for 5. I'm like, Larry, I'll sell more in a year than you will in the next 10. And so, but it's true. You run into those type of people in the world. I love you, Larry.
I have a feeling Larry doesn't do social media.
He does not.
Podcasts.
No, he does not. But I will gladly present it. Him and I have that relationship where I'll present it to him because we've had this conversation before. And I mean, but you do run into those people where they use, I've been in this field for 35 years. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't do shit. And I mean, it's one of those, you know what, having a realtor license, especially when the times were booming, you know, you could have your part-time realtor and still make a really good income. So yeah, you've had your real estate license, but what does your dad do? What does your husband do? What does your wife do? Because I know how much you sell, and it ain't enough to pay your bills. So I mean,
totally.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those conversations where don't let that ever get into it. I've only been in it 6 years, but you've done a lot of transactions, and you've done a lot of different types of transactions.
And we met like last year, I believe, last fall or whatnot. And I know you were just dabbling in commercial properties. So where are you now from where we originally met?
So Skogman Realty, they've got a program, and it's basically a commercial. I mean, they call it a certification, but it's all internal. It's an internal certification. It's not nationally recognized or locally recognized, but it is an opportunity for you to get in there, receive some instruction, and work with some really seasoned commercial agents. And one thing that you can say about Skogman is they've got a lot of seasoned commercial agents. I mean, we've got Scott Olson, we've got Doug Laird, we've got Brian Rostek. I mean, we've got people that have been doing this since the 80s, since the 90s, for forever.
I've been doing it for 40 years.
And so, it was really great. And so this is my mentor. I would be Carl Hoffman. You've worked with Carl before?
Oh, yeah.
Carl's great. And I've had the opportunity to work with him, and so I've had the opportunity to list commercial properties, do some leases. For the record, I hate leases. I hate writing them. I hate doing them. But I will do a lease for you. I will do a lease for you, especially if you're a small business owner, because I do have a passion for small business owners. But I have done, probably about six or seven commercial deals in this last year. Some leases, some purchases. I just closed on the... it was in the news. So Olivet Presbyterian Church, they sold their daycare, the Mission, the Head Start. It's a Head Start preschool, and then the Mission was running the other half of it. We sold that to HACAP.
Okay.
And we closed on that this week, and HeyCap's going to do some really, really amazing things with that property, so it's a really good thing.
Yeah.
I really like it. One thing that I am passionate, though, about, and I talked with Tone about this morning, was I'm really passionate about small business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm passionate about, like, helping people kind of realize their goals and realize, and so sorry, Tone, I'm just going to plug this right now because it's kind of an opportunity for me. So I'm going to be doing starting a new podcast, and it's be called The Process. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be working with Matt Miller. Matt Miller is the owner, operator, founder, CEO, whatever you want to call him, of Back 40 Barbecue. If you haven't tried them yet, they're amazing. He's amazing. But he started out in a catering service. He was working full-time at Target. He was catering out of his house. And now he's got his food truck. And you can catch him a couple of times a week. They're out there doing stuff. And his food is amazing. It's so good.
It is good.
You've had it. You've had it.
I haven't had it yet.
Yep. It's so good.
And they got some sauces that are fantastic.
Yep.
Awesome.
And so what my intent is to do a 12 series, like season 1 will be a 12-part series, and we're gonna kind of work with Matt and follow Matt through this process. And the whole purpose is to kind of lift the veil on how people can actually do this small business thing. Mm-hmm. Small business owners, I mean, it's what made America,
It's the heartbeat of the Midwest.
It's
the heartbeat of the Midwest.
And I think that there's a lot of people out there, like, they want to do something, and I see it all the time, and this is really why I wanted to do this, is because I see it all the time in commercial real estate. I have a building for lease. Somebody calls me up. They want to take a look at it. They love the space. It's perfect. It's exactly what they needed. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, great. Let's put together a letter of intent. Let's start talking with the listing agent. Let's start talking with the property owner. Let's figure out how we can get you into this space. And they're like, I'm not ready yet. Usually it's financial. Usually it's financial. But a lot of times, and so all I keep seeing is these people who want to do this thing, and there are these things that are stopping them, whether it's resources, whether it's I just don't know how to do it. And so what I want to do with the process is I want to do this 12-part series. I want to follow Matt. I want people to be able to hear his process. And as we go through this journey with Matt, I want to bring in subject matter experts, people who can either be resources or people that have already done it and can give good advice. And that's what I want to do in the process. 12. We're going to start in October. We'll go to next October.
Well, good for you, because I know us, Tone and I, as being small business owners, we feel like we're the forgotten guys.
Oh, yeah.
We are the guys behind the curtain, you know?
And people think it's easy. They don't know about our failures and the pressure that's on us. I had a serious conversation with my significant other that I was really uncomfortable about. And I just had to tell her, like, hey, I do a lot of stuff and I make a lot of sacrifices that I'm not sure is going to pay off. I really don't know if this is going to pay off. Yep. But something in my heart tells me this is the right thing to do. And like my spirituality is pointing me in this direction.
Well, I feel
I'm not going to stop.
I feel you. I about get a 30-day notice from my significant other. It feels like coming my way.
Well, then I mean, like,
when I want to make those sacrifices because I feel it's right.
But they make sense to us. I can't tell you why. But I promise you, this is the right thing to do. Yeah, the math might not math, but it feels right, and it does pay off. Like, I can't. That's the other problem I think I have is I can't do something like this is going to make me so much money, but I can do something that's like this felt right, and then later it really did make me so much money because I did the right thing.
Yes. So right now, to use a film term, let's break the fourth wall.
Yes.
So I mean, just to tell you guys,
Dallas or
we had to get there.
We're sitting here, we're doing this podcast, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm having, and don't get me wrong, guys, I'm having the time of my life sitting here, sipping whiskey, talking with you guys. I'm having a freaking blast.
Yep.
But why are we all doing this? Why are we really all doing this, right? Mm-hmm. We're having fun. It's a great time.
Yep.
But really what we want to do is we want to get people to know us. We want people to know us. We want people to know us, trust us, and like us.
Yep.
Right.
You want to know that, like, you put out a really good product here in your studio, so maybe other people want to come and do podcasts here. I mean that's part of it.
It's all marketing.
Now, do we know that it's going to work?
No, absolutely.
We don't know, you know.
Yep.
But you know what? It's a good time, and it's something that we hope it gets out there to the people, and people, you know.
Back to the theme of the episode. Now, obviously, it's marketing,
collaboration,
yes. and education.
Yes.
This is a platform that, hey, I think I might want to get into real estate. Listen to this. Our first season, you're going to learn a lot. By the time you get to season 3 and 4, you're just our friend. We're keeping it real at season 3 and 4. Yep. But, you know, that first season was just educational.
I hooked on to you guys. I mean, like, not to get me wrong. I mean, I know both of you, and I like you guys. But, like, if I'm just, like, somebody that's, like, opening up a podcast, and I look up whiskey and real estate, shoot, you guys had Mike Schulte on 2 episodes ago. Yep. That gives you that legitimizes you, and so I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to the Mike Schulte episode. Oh man, they're pretty good. I'm going to listen to the next episode. I'm going to listen to the next episode. You know, it's collaboration, education, like all of that.
Key.
Yeah, my brother is he's a podcaster. Like he doesn't do podcasts, but he listens to podcasts. And Zach, how you doing, bud? But anyways, he messaged me last week, and Jesus Christ. I mean, he's been my brother for 30 plus years, you know?
Right.
And he's like, hey, you know what? I'm in Cedar Rapids area working on this Chick-fil-A, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to start listening to your podcast. Because I heard about your podcast.
Zach.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, Zach, we have a blast out there. I hope you enjoy them.
Yeah.
I go, you need to watch the first season and the last season. Compare and contrast.
Yeah. I think it's night and day. I really do. Like and the intent stayed the same. That's one thing that was consistent, is our intent to not only educate, but also for us, we need to have a break away from work. But we want to leave a legacy. That will always be our theme in life, outside of podcasts and everything.
Well, there ain't no doubt about it. And, you know, the reason we do what we do, and this kind of answers your question, Tim, is, we know we're going to be known out there by, you know, the likeness out there, you know, what we do. But, you know, we started this podcast, me being 12 to 13 years into this real estate journey, already have a collaboration, already have my business set, you know, already have my direction of where I want to go. You've been doing the same thing for how many plus years? Oh my God. So local celebrity tone and I mean, so, you know, the likeness, we do it for it out there, but this is more of our release because Tone and I run into the frustration of the daily life. And the frustration of the week.
Yeah. Dude, it was nice when we were doing it Mondays, and now we're doing it Fridays.
Like, what did I tell you? What did I tell you this morning? Do you remember what I told you this morning? I said to him, oh man, I said, I know we're recording a podcast, but I just can't wait to sit down with two guys for an hour and a half and just talk about, I don't care, talk about real estate, talk about whatever, because it's a break. It's a break.
Oh, it is.
It's so nice. Yeah.
My favorite thing about the Mike Schulte episode is, like, podcasting is the one time where we put down our phones. Like, we got to check them here and there in case of emergency or fire.
Oh, I've been texting with my wife.
You have to.
I gotta get wings.
Yes. B-dubs. All right. But so, like, it's the one time where we're locked in, but we also lock out the rest of the world, even though we are probably some of the busiest people you're going to come across.
Yep.
So to really have that, which you almost didn't have after the internet came out.
Well, and then this would have never happened during COVID, so about got shut down twice.
Yeah,
because we would have had to be in at 2 different locations.
Oh yeah, it's a Zoom call. That's not real.
That's not.
I did a lunch. You guys know the Restoration Project?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I did a lunch with friends with the Restoration Project over Zoom. Yeah. And then I did a lunch with friends with my son.
Really?
Because COVID.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, and young realtors out there, this is, you know, and young business owners too. I mean, we always talk about in all of our episodes, always be pivoting.
Yep.
And we're always pivoting. And this is just a pivot.
Yep.
This is our pivot to freedom, our pivot towards the different market we're in now. I mean, we're in a completely different market, and there's so many different ways to expose yourself out there. I mean, I still hold in my expectations to my new realtors, be involved in 3 social groups. Get yourself out there. Once a week, go take breakfast to businesses that you might have a friend that works in.
Yeah.
Those are still part of my expectation sheets. I mean, that Carl Esker at Coldwell, he's like, "How do you do what you do?" I go, "Because I'm still on the floor running."
Yep. Well, and I subscribe most. I mean, like.
Yep.
I'll subscribe most of my success to 3 things. I'm in the Iowa National Guard. I'm from here, and Rotary.
Yeah,
and those are my
Rotary guys. Rotary guys.
Those are my
Thank
3.
you for your service, by the way.
No, thank you.
We
Yeah.
appreciate
I'm,
the Iowa
I'm,
National Guard.
we
for sure.
I'm a little over a year out from retiring, so.
Well, you might have to go to Florida next week.
Oh, God, please.
Yeah, we got a hurricane hitting down there.
That is sad. I read something
I'm high enough
today.
up there. I don't go.
You might be sending
I
people to
send
go.
people.
Yeah, you might be sending people. But yeah,
What do you
Thank
think
God.
the market is out there, dude?
Oh,
With
my God,
hurricanes and I saw something really sad today where it was like, if you did not leave Florida, make sure you write your name and date of birth on your arm.
right.
Oh my
And I had
God.
to process
Is
that
that
for a minute.
bad?
It's that bad that
Helene-
hey,
is
we
it
may
Helene?
find you.
Is
yeah.
it Hurricane Helene?
Yep, and we may need to identify you, and you probably don't have an
Oh,
ID or a house or anything, and we don't know if we found you unless you wrote your information. That is
Well, they
a
were
sad
saying
thing.
all the way up to Georgia, it's going to be affected.
Oh yeah.
My brother's in North Carolina, so I guess that's just a little bit.
Yeah,
more
so
north
they're
than that.
saying like in like so I spent a lot of time in the Miami area and a lot of time in the Port St. Lucie area, and so Tampa is probably about 3 hours north of there, 2 hours
Mhm.
north of there. And Tampa was at every hour it was 6 feet the water was rising, and you're not
Oh,
talking
wow.
like on the beach, you're talking like downtown.
Yeah.
So
Properties, commercial.
So
buildings.
they're saying it's going to crest anywhere between 18 to 24 feet above what the normal
Oh,
crest
Lord.
hours is, and that's cresting in town.
That's
Yeah,
I mean,
this
that's
is.
not.
Are you guys?
ocean.
Are you
What-
guys
what's your
not?
car,
Flash,
like,
are you
4
guys not
feet?
having a flashback to 2008?
Well, I was just going
Oh,
to
the
say,
flood
2008, we were 26 feet.
But
something
what
like
did they
that.
keep saying was going to crest at? They
18.
kept.
18.
Yeah, yeah.
and it
We
went
got
all the way
to
up to
26.
26 to
Yeah.
28 feet. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Sad.
the bottom of the bridge here in Cedar Rapids is 18 feet, something like that. And they say the flood levels, so 2016, it got up to 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so everyone was evacuating downtown, having a
Mhm.
flashback of 2008. And so
Oh, I was with a gym over in Czech Village, and we were sandbagging and pulling
Yep.
everything out, and yeah.
And it only crest, I think, at 22 or 23 feet in 2016. I mean, Czech Village got hit a little bit,
Yeah.
like tornadoes that bar.
That was a
I
big one.
remember
That was
their
a
posts
big
were
deal.
That
insane.
was a huge thing.
It was like
because
they
bagged
said it.
everywhere except
They
there.
said it in the most polite way. It's like, you motherfuckers got
You
this
just
water
let us to drop.
running right to us. Like, seriously, guys.
And I
this is
love
bullshit.
I love tornadoes.
Me too.
I
That
love
burger,
tornadoes.
Food's amazing.
I was down
The
there
food's
helping
amazing.
to
Yeah.
make sure I don't lose that burger.
Right? No kidding. Oh my gosh.
I had a receptionist that was drunk every day by noon that was working down there as a bartender, so we were informed every day.
Yeah. Crazy times, man. I think this is a great note to wrap up on. Tim, the process coming soon.
The process coming soon from T1 Entertainment.
Hey,
Right.
yes.
If you ever need anyone to appear, I'll be there, man.
Hell yeah.
You just say when.
He
Yeah,
ose
for
us
sure.
now.
Yeah, I'll be there.
We'll
Just say
bring
when.
Lucas on as a guest at one point. I'm really excited about that, and I think that is something that us three are very passionate about, is
Our
watching
small
something. Yeah, small businesses,
Mhm.
helping somebody from start to finish. Lucas helped me. I still need to take that test again. Me and Tim talked about it
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
But,
You've done way too
4
much not to take that
questions.
test.
And
4 questions away drives me insane because I don't have 3 hours to spend again.
I missed
I
2.
don't.
I missed 2 my
Oh,
first time
okay,
around, and
okay.
I had to
That
take it a
makes it a
second
little
time. I had
better.
to take it
Okay.
a second time.
I'll do it. I'll get it done.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I would as well as my final
Yes.
little piece to that is and for small business owners and for junior realtors, one thing to just remember is and this goes in line with education and collaboration is you're not alone. Reach out to find a mentor, find a great broker. If you're a small business owner, reach out to other small business owners. Everybody's been where you are. And you would be surprised how many people are like willing to reach out and help you out at no cost
Exactly.
yeah, no
right.
cost. People want to help people. So
I want
you're not
this
alone.
podcast to
You're
be
not
a
alone.
resource.
Yeah.
Like, for real.
Yeah,
Like,
for
listen
real.
to
That's
this.
why we started it to begin with.
Exactly. This is a resource.
Yeah.
And Lucas said if your broker ain't busy, he ain't what?
He ain't worth it.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
you
I
know
can't
what?
believe that was the motivation.
I can't.
You're too
He's
busy.
always available. Why?
Duh.
Why? I want a contractor to build my house, but I want to build now. Go find a contractor that is not busy, and then figure out why he's not busy. Like, come on.
Wow.
I mean, I don't want that contractor. The one that has 0 jobs. I don't want him.
Yeah. oh, I could be his first. You gotta be. You're the experiment.
Yeah, it's someone else's fault, not yours.
Oh man. Thank you, Tim, for being here.
Yeah, I
this
appreciate
is so
you, Tim.
awesome.
Thanks. I was actually very honored to be invited, and I was like, really? You guys want me to come on your podcast and talk with you? Thank you so much.
Come again. You're always welcome.
Yeah, it was so awesome. Like, even meeting him about a year ago, like in Rotary, like he spoke. He's like, I listen to Tone's music. I was like, oh my God, not in Rotary, don't tell him. But like, he really genuinely
Your music's
enjoyed
great.
it.
What do you mean?
Thank you.
And I think the people in Rotary appreciate. I know they're old. I know they're white, but I think they like it.
They did enjoy it. They asked me to perform one time. It was very awkward, but I had fun, and you're just a genuine person. So I like, if you're buying a place, these are the two people. I'm putting the camera on you guys.
Yeah.
Lucas keeps it real, and Tim is like so professional and just like an honest person. You can feel the good spirit in him.
Yeah, I'm the scarred realtor.
But he's honest.
I'll be like him in 12 years.
Yeah, he's got a little more time.
Hey.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for both of your time today.
Tim, appreciate you, my
Hey,
man.
man, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're pouring another one.
Yeah.
We're gonna do one. Hey,
A small one.
A small one.
But it's Friday.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
Oh man.
Oh, geez.
Wild turkey.
How does that happen?
Insane.
Yes, that's a whole bottle.
Thank you guys to Whiskey and Real Estate.
Whiskey and Real Estate. Appreciate you, Tim. Thank you.